Hagiographs of saints and their encounters with devils. The list spans many centuries and a great distance, from the Levant to the Khazar Khaganate, to the border of the modern nation-states of Russia and Kazakhstan today. From this paper trail arose a consistent account about a certain form of magic related to the binding of demons to a sorcerer's will. A demon called the Heaven of Needles, or the Angel of Needles, was known to be kept best by shamanic keepers or wards who suffer from face blindness. I have that, actually. It's really embarrassing that I can't pronounce it, because I actually have, like, a form of face blindness. I can't really recognize people by their faces unless I see them constantly. Otherwise, I recognize them by their hair, generally, or if they wear the same outfits pretty often, it's a lot easier for me to recognize. Essentially, everyone looks like everyone to me. Like, it's really hard to explain face blindness to someone who is not face blind. Suffice it to say, I can't really remember faces, so it is embarrassing that I can't pronounce this word, because I do know what this word means. Whether by birth or through developmental causes like a stroke or a head injury. It was known to be extremely effective but terribly dangerous, so much so that it became outlawed several times and was generally a popular scapegoat relating to the unexpected death. This nexus of magico-religious, meaning making sorcery regarding human-related desires in the history and science of... This is a whole fucking book that they want me to read here. Fuck. Is the whole game gonna be like this? Where the subject of this dissertation will reside. I will outline further and then analyze the historical sources I mentioned previously, and then I will go into the neurology of mystic and magico-religious experiences. After that, I will detail my ongoing correspondence with a resident in the Ural Mountain region who is an expert folklorist and keeper of traditions. He claims to have passed down through his extended family for generations. Okay. And I assume this must be the magic glue. All-purpose glue. Okay. Take doll. A slouching doll. Its material is rough and coarse. I interrupted to ask what she did with these magical, mysterious materials. Grow Grandpa, she explained plainly, and then continued without missing a beat. Man, whatever. Feeling this was a potent symbol, I stopped her again to ask what she meant. Somewhat puzzled, I did not understand immediately, she explained slowly. Grandpa lives in the cage in the other room. The cage behind the door. They grew people in the cage. Alright. Can I check out the trash pile? There's nothing I can grab in the trash pile. The darkness of the shadowy corner unnerves you. You cannot explore without some form of light. Oh, the door. Okay. A hastily written note. I have repeatedly called your homes to no avail, and so I am forced to leave this here for you all. I found William sitting in the corner of the enclosure area, seemingly severely concussed. Whiskers was gone, in none of its usual hiding places. I immediately suspected the worst. The project, thus, must be suspended for now. I am leaving up to the usual mirrored I am leaving up the usual mirrored coverings we use to keep the anthropoidic void sealed. There's a lot of big words in this game. I don't think I'm smart enough for this. I have done my best to lock up everything on such short notice. It is a hasty fix, but it will require some time to find a more permanent remedy. I am honestly hoping you do not find this note, as I intend to lock the house down too. I intend to race off to you to retrieve your lockbox keys. Do not worry about William's key. It and the rest of his equipment is almost certainly deep within Whiskers now. I pray you do not enter this room. No matter how it may appear, William cannot be helped, and is only being kept alive as a means of continuing predation on the rest of us. I will say once again, no matter what state you encounter William in, he cannot be helped. I have sympathy for the young man, I truly do, but I found on his person several photos of his late sister, which would imply a certain risks he knew he was taking. Our extant research materials have now become possible liabilities, either criminal or professional in nature, so I have stashed them away. I believe I let you all know how I might do this if we were ever to experience an event such as this. I hope you all remember what I told you. So long then, Dr. H. A note on an experiment 1 of 4. For the sake of university policy and the health of a future career you hope to have, you will abide by the non-disclosure contract you have signed. Do not break the anthropoidic vacuum without my prior consultation and approval. Any anthropoidic forms brought into the enclosure area must not be left unattended. When not in dormancy, the sample will attempt to take anthropoidic shells. Please see shell notes for more on that. A note on an experiment 2 out of 4. The sample's exposure to some of our neuronal activity is unavoidable. However, the speed at which its desirous yield is produced can be damaged by several precautions regarding libidinal and emotional urges. Keep conversation not related to lab work at a minimum. If you begin to suspect you are developing attachments to your colleagues, contact me as soon as possible. Ritual behavior with the sample, trading, bargaining, will result in dismissal from the project. The precise mechanism of the exchange symbols and gifts required for a requested desirous yield is not known, and even then, anecdotal accounts of success are illegible and in violent death. A note on an experiment 4 out of 4. No, I didn't get to read it. Beyond the door, in the room, the cage was hidden, concealed in another cloak of inward-facing mirrors. A hidden cage lined with mirrors. It is strange, almost poetic, the elaborate fantasy of self-reflection, concealment, captivity. Am I taking the cage away? At the cage, she finally cast her spell. But it was confusing, she confided at first. She took the magic doll, the magic glue, and the photo of her grandpa. And she combined them, and she wished very hard. I can only assume that in this fantasy that her next wish would come true. In what child's story would it not? Particular human representation, grandpa. Generic human figure, doll. Glue together. A tangible symbol of intention and desire. She put grandpa in the cage, assuming that that was part of the ritual. She was not clear on how it worked. What precise instructions she could glean from her grandfather's magic books was complicated by her reading comprehension. She wished with all her heart, and then she told me she waited a while for anything to happen. After that time, she began to cry. I cried really hard, she said. I wanted Grandpa to be back. I wanted my parents to stop being so mean. And it hurt me. It hurt me wish for Grandpa to come back, for my parents to be different. I could feel it through the walls, and it felt me through the air. I asked her what exactly she meant. She could only repeat what she said. By this time, lunch was almost over. I said goodbye to Adrian, and she left to rejoin her class. I was left to consider our conversation. I believe the storytelling strategy I've employed was not unfruitful, but I must probe deeper if I can. Although I can be sure of nothing, I interpret the impressions I get may begin to help me get an idea of the right questions to ask. Knowledge you acquired this week has given you access to certain topics or keywords you can discuss with Grandpa. You have gained the conversation topic, wish. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. You have also gained the following keyword. You have gained the conversation topic, shall. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. Week 2. I met again with Adrian in order to address her emotional outbursts in the past few weeks. It is our second time meeting, and while it is standard practice to have multiple sessions with a troubled student, as I assemble a report for the counseling department, I could not help but think, as we sat down in my office, that Adrian already seemed to show a remarkable change in self-esteem and confidence, and perhaps my and Mrs. Richardson's estimation of her as emotionally disturbed was erroneous. The paralyzing shyness and withdrawn attitude Adrian possessed last week was not entirely diminished, but she seemed to hold herself differently this week. However, it only lasted as long as our conversations pertained to the initial introductory pleasantries. When I began once again asking about her parents, her feelings regarding her new school, and her new home, she quickly lost what new confidence she had gathered and withdrew again into herself. So once again, I took in some collaborative make-believe, but this time I was aided by the fact that I had managed to do some research on Adrian's grandfather. And I had some insight into what she might actually be finding in the basement. Now, this may be overstepping my bounds some as a school counseling caseworker, but this was all in the service of making Adrian comfortable and happy in this learning environment. In any case, I was able to dig up information regarding the grandfather by inquiring at the university in town. Not that I make it a habit of sleuthing, but I had a suspicion that the grandfather was a professor there, or at least some sort of researcher, due to the fact that the newly constructed laboratory on the campus I drive by every day bears his name in memorial. He was some kind of anthropologist or linguist or neuroscientist. I did not have to dig that deep before the scope of his work became dizzying, and I ran up against the limits of my undergraduate education. But back to the make-believe. What is your grandpa like? Is he a smart man?
Not anymore, but I'm teaching him.
So he's grown a good deal then. You've been feeding him well?
Yeah, he is getting bigger, but he has a lot of room in his cage.
He's still behind the bars?
Yeah, well, he might be able to climb out eventually. There's this vent in the ceiling.
Well, perhaps if he climbs out, I can meet him someday.
Yeah, maybe, but he's not ready to leave. He can't take care of himself. I have to feed him, pick up after him.
Ah, you store the food in your lunchbox? That's nice of you to share.
He can almost talk.
You cannot speak with him?
He doesn't have a mouth, sort of.
But how do you feed him?
He has a mouth on the outside, on his shell, or the stuff that's in his skin.
I'm a little confused. Maybe you can go through what a typical day with your grandpa.
Okay.
I asked her to explain how exactly she goes about growing her grandpa, and Adrian began another tale. According to Adrian, in the week that had passed, much had changed in the basement. Okay. Examine. The hairy thing that was here before is gone. You should go see Grandpa first. You should go see Grandpa. I'm not sure that I want to go see Grandpa. Okay. Let's go see Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa, I miss you. Let's wake up Grandpa.